We also work with the state of California on the green technologies, helping training other programs on the green technology. But a lot of people have asked me to talk about what I call my journey. How do I get to where I am right now? And I'm going to just touch as much as I can in the allowed time that I have of where I've been and how did I get to where I am now. First of all, my parents and my grandparents are from Spain, but I was born and raised in Cuba until I was 14 years old. At the time, one day, I went to my father and said, you know what, Dad? I was in school and they told me that from now on, if you talk bad about the government, I'm supposed to let them know, because they're the ones that are going to raise me in the future. They're going to be my mom and dad. I said, really? So he kind of put me in just educated me at home and stuff like that until he decided to leave the island. And we kind of, at the time, you could get out of it if you pledge everything you own. In other words, my parents were in business and we own our own house. They said, here's my house, here's my business, so yours. Even with that, it took a couple of years. Finally, they called us. We were at the airport. And at that time, they said, okay, we're going to take an inventory again and see if everything is still there. If a dish broke, you better have replaced it. That was the way it worked. And when they came back, we sat at the airport for hours. And they told my father, hey, everything was there. Everything is cool. We talked to your neighbor, and your neighbor says that you had a car this color this year and stuff like that. We don't see that pledge anywhere. And my father says, I got rid of that car 3 years before I even decided to leave this country. And he said, well, you either replace it or you're not going anywhere. So my father turns to the guy and says, my son had nothing to do with it. So it was just my mother, my father, and I that were leaving. And he says, no. See, they were into breaking the family on purpose. So my father says, son, you get on a plane. We'll see when we see you. And I did. And they knew cases like this at the airport when I got to Miami. And there was a priest waiting for me already. This priest was given a camp in the middle of the Everglades that nobody wanted, so he can keep a few kids like me. It was surrounded by alligators, snakes, and everything. It was in the middle of the Everglades. And we stayed there until some of the kids, either the parents came out or they put you in a foster home somewhere in the United States. In a way, I was lucky in a backhanded way because I was one of the older kids at 14 and a half. So they couldn't find a place where to put me in the United States. And by that time, almost a year later, finally my parents came out. And by the way, when you are at the airport, they strip you naked, even if you're a kid. They want to make sure that you only leave with your underwear and the shirts and the pants you have on. They want to make sure you're not hiding any jewelry or anything like that. Most of the people don't understand this process. But it's a very cruel process, really, very demeaning. And so when we say we came to this country with nothing, with the shirt we got on, that was the way. And if they ever find out that you were funneling money out of the country so that you can be set when you got here, they better blackball you never get out. Period. So finally, my parents came out. Nothing, we didn't know it. We didn't have any friends, anybody. My father just happened to have a friend in New York that told him, hey, come over here, I'll get you a job in construction. You got to remember, we used to own our own home, we used to own our own dry cleaning business and everything. But hey, survival mode, that was it. So we went to New York, started working. I had to help the family because it wasn't making enough money. We were not the type that wanted to go on welfare, we were too proud. So we did what we could. Everybody worked. My mother never had to work. Now she's at a factory, sewing clothing at a factory. And my father is working there. A year later, he dies of a brain tumor. I was working at a supermarket after school, doing deliveries in New York and Manhattan. And there's a lot of that problem because there's no place for to park. So there's a lot of kids that deliver the stuff all over the place. I was always a hustler, so I was make sure that I did more deliveries than anybody else because I was living on the tips, period. You ought to see me when it was raining. I'd go up there. We do it a little bit. My tips were awesome in that. So, but I was working until 9 o'clock at night, and by that time, I was too tired to do my homework, so I get up very early in the morning to do my homework, and I was one of the first ones in school. I go to the auditorium, do my homework. Eventually, I graduated there on a school of about 2,000. I graduated in the top 3%. Maybe it's because everything was fresh in my head from the homework. I don't know. Never thought I was that smart, but I did quite okay. After that, let me go back to how I got into the dry cleaning. I had a lot of uncles. I was an only child, but I had a lot of uncles. There was 9 on my father's side and about 7 on my mother's. And we used to go half of our vacations to one of the businesses in case we didn't go to college. So one of them had a very dry cleaning operation. My father had a dry cleaning operation. And another one had a clothing manufacturing place, totally, from the layouts to the cutting to the manufacturing. I learned that too. That helped me later on in dry cleaning quite a bit. I know garments. I know how they're sold. I know how they're supposed to be made. And another one happened to be a mechanic for a very large bus company. So I learned how to fix a lot of things. All of this later on in life became awesome. Later on, as I'm here, and I wish I could be here 4 hours telling you, but how do I end up in the dry cleaning business back here? Is that when I got to California, I started working for Firestone. Guess what? I needed a job right away, so I was changing tires. But I'm a people. I started within a month. I started outselling the sales manager. So the manager of the store said, "You don't belong here. You belong, over on the sales floor." So I started working eventually within 6 months on the field, helping the stores. I learned how to run businesses like you won't believe. And eventually, one of my uncles was here and had a business and went to make me an offer. They say, "Man, you know the dry cleaning business. Now you know how to run businesses. I need you." You ever heard of Coit? C-O-I-T? He offered me Coit. He said, "Here, we match the salary you have with Firestone. We match the benefits. Yeah, you still little." Until he said, "I give you 40% of the business that we're going to open." I said, "I'm gone." So I began that. And the rest of the story is that I ended up eventually after 7 years with Coit, opening up my own stores and so on. I had 28 stores at one point. I love developing business. I love the challenge, and I hate people who just when they fall down don't get back up and say, "Blame it on the experience."
Yes.